we all have had the experience where we meet somebody or we get an inbound lead, we get a referral, maybe in your case, and we talk to the prospect, and maybe it goes as far as even quoting them and they don't buy. They want to think it over, right? Or maybe we meet somebody at a trade show or a networking event, or we get a referral, we have a conversation, and for whatever reason, they don't book that initial call, right? So there's all these stopping points. When you get a lead, not all leads go right to a sale, right? So you have this kind of pipeline. That's what a pipeline is. It's these leads that have come in who have shown some interest, and they're in the buying process. Some might be a year away, some might be a week away, but they're in this process of thinking it over. They have a need, they have an interest, but they haven't bought yet. Okay. That is the definition of an unconverted lead. And I want you guys to know this, because as we go through this program, I'll be mapping out more of these terms, like what is a lead? What is an MQL and SQL and all these things. So we're not going to get into that now, but for now, I need you guys to understand what a lead is. And a lead, or an unconverted lead, is a prospect that has shown some level of interest in hiring you, working with you, hiring you for paying you to do a project, but has not bought. And again, if you've been in business like me, I've been in business for over 20 years, we got a big vat of unconverted leads. In addition to the new ones we get, we have all these unconverted leads. And there are people on my unconverted lead list that have been there for nearly 20 years. And as long as they're an MSP, as long as they, don't say, take me off the list or something like that, or otherwise prove to be someone I don't want as a customer, they are in our drip campaigns. We continue to market to them. We don't get them all, but we still have them in our list. And so what I find is most MSPs make a huge mistake in that they give up on leads way too quick. So the minute somebody goes cold, goes dark, isn't responsive, they send a couple emails and then they just stop. And then they never communicate with that lead again, which is an abysmal shame. Because, like, for example, I think I was just pulling this. I'm gonna guess the number. I'm gonna be off a little bit, but in our CRM, we have over 90,000 contacts, but we have somewhere in the vicinity of about 27,000 unconverted leads. And these are MSPs, the owner of an MSP. They're in North America, Canada, somewhere in the world. They're kind of in our, if you would, sweet spot, right? Meaning they're the owner of an MSP. Typically, our clients tend to be, we've got larger clients, but under 10 million in revenue. They're not Boeing aircraft, in other words, right? So that tends to be our sweet spot. So we have 27,000 of them, and we keep marketing to them. And guess what? They buy. We were just at an event, Jeff, I asked you, I don't know if you found this out. You were just at an event yesterday. We invited a bunch of them to this event. We generated like 8 sales, and not all of them were pristine, brand new, never talked to before, right? They were a lot of unconverted leads, right, Jeff?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, about half of them were unconverted leads that were just in our pipeline, got them to an event in person.
And they bought.
And they bought.
Yeah. And there are people who've been in our pipeline for 5 years, 10 years, and they buy, and they'll even come to me. And I always make a joke with them, like, cause they'll say, I was getting your marketing for, 10 years. I had, cause we used to, we haven't done it recently because COVID kind of put a hiccup and everything, but we would mail out, we have this really effective Godfather letter with a $1 bill, and that thing just cranked and brought leads and opportunities. And they would even joke to us and say, man, those dollar bills just kept piling up, man. I had like $10 bill, $1 bills from you mailing that same damn letter to me. And finally I bought. And I always say, well, the joke's on you, because if you would have bought 10 years ago, it was about 50% cheaper. We don't get cheaper, we get more expensive. So don't wait, So I just want to make sure you understand, unconverted leads are those prospects that have shown interest, they have not bought. And this campaign really is about converting them. So again, an unconverted lead is a prospect who has shown some level of interest, but did not buy. All right. And so an unconverted lead is a prospect, maybe was referred to you, visited your booth, met you at a networking event, Maybe they called your office, and maybe you even went so far as you prepared a quote for them and they did not buy. All right. And so, or, they just ghosted you and went dark because you were talking to them and all of a sudden it's like they go unresponsive. All right. So that happens. And so this campaign is a campaign that you can use on an ongoing basis. You might pull it out like right away, guys, you're going to get some bump off of this. But, as you're continuing to do drip marketing, the need to have this episodic campaign of the 9-word email will lessen because you're going to be doing proper follow-up and drip marketing. But this idea of this 9-word email is a tool that you're going to use. And I'll use a phrase my friend Joe Polish used. He talks about your toolbox, your tool belt, your toolbox, and your tool shed, right? And if you're even if you're not a carpenter, you can understand the tools that you're going to use most often are going to be on your tool belt because they carry like if you've ever seen construction workers, whether it's a hammer or it's a measuring tape is one, right? So it's a measuring tape, it's a hammer, it's something that they use frequently. And so they carry it on their tool belt. Then they have their toolbox, and those are tools that they don't use all the time. So maybe the hammer goes in that, I don't know, whatever it is. And then the tool shed is or tools they use every once in a while. Excuse me. So let me take a quick drink. I need, getting all crazy about these unconverted leads. Yeah, I get very excited when we talk about marketing. I mean, this is the most fun you can ever have with your clothes on, right? I mean, talking about unconverted leads and marketing. I mean, hello. All right. So anyway, the idea of this 9-word email is a tool belt kind of thing. And we learned it from Dean Jackson. And so Joe Polish is a good friend of mine. I Love Marketing podcast. I've been a friend of his for over 20 years. And Dean Jackson and him do the I Love Marketing podcast. Dean Jackson, we've had him speak at our event. We've had Joe speak at our events. Great guys, tremendous marketers, right? And so Joe was having one of his events and asked me to connect him with Lou Ferrigno. And because I had Lou speak at my event and I had been doing some stuff with Lou, Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk guy on that show, TV show. Some of you are probably too young to remember that. But anyway, so Joe wanted to have him speak and he asked me to come and just sort of, make the connection. So I was at the event and Joe then said, well, while you're here, why don't you speak? So I said, okay, great, I will. I brought Jeff with me. So Jeff and I are sitting in this audience and, we're at the event, right? I'm going to speak later on. And Dean Jackson comes up on stage and he starts talking about this 9-word email. And the 9-word email is this really simple email that he figured out that works to resuscitate a dead lead, someone who's gone cold, someone who's gone unresponsive. Now, if you don't know Dean Jackson, he knows marketing and I don't care what the product service is, Dean can help you with marketing, but his real background comes from the real estate market. So he's the majority of people who follow Dean are going to be real estate people because that's where he lives. And so he figured out this 9-word email because there are realtors, just like all of us who have prospects who are thinking about buying a home. They show them a home and then they're texting them, what do you think? Are you going to put an offer or not put an offer? And they ghost them. And so they figured out this 9-word email and it was really simple. I'll show it to you here. It's the subject line is the first name of the prospect. So if I was sending this to Jeff, it would say, Jeff, are you still looking to, and you fill that section in with whatever they're looking for. Now, when Dean was showing this, I think it was, are you still looking to buy a new house? So that was 9 words or something like that, right? And that's why he called it the 9-word email, because it's only 9 words, your name. So there's no greeting, there's no, hey, how are you? There's no salutation of, hope you have a wonderful day. It's nothing like that. Just a quick, simple, are you still looking to blank, right? And Dean was saying how powerful this is and how it works and so forth. So you could see the example here, are you still looking for an IT services firm, right? So that's where we learned it. So Jeff's sitting next to me and I don't know, Jeff, I think it was your idea. You said,
so I was just kind of writing some different versions of it because there was this template exactly like this.
Yeah.
And I was writing out, we were just sitting in the back of the room because you were going to be speaking in a little bit. And I'm writing out some different examples of it. I'm like, you know what? We've got a number of people. This is when we just had Producers Club in the toolkit. That was all we had of memberships. And we had about 90 people that over like a 2-3 year period had either expressed interest or applied for Producers Club, or they had gone through something that elevated them to this lead status, but they never pulled the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just kind of writing up these different versions of it. And so we're just kind of sitting in the back of the room. And this was, I remember it was on a Friday also, because it ties into the story of the response rate on this here. The first thing that I asked on this, and it's a thing that probably a lot of you are asking when you see this email, is that seems kind of corny of putting the person's name in there. And I remember when I was asking Robin of that, she said, well, Dean's kind of a smart guy, so let's just go with his formula of putting the name in there. Like, instead of putting something else in there, putting the name. And some of that is all about of where people will a lot of times click on something that has their name in it, of where there's just that curiosity and interest was Dean's angle on that of why using the name. So we sent this out, and it was something like, I don't have the exact email in front of me, but it was, are you still interested in applying for Producers Club? I hit send on it. We hop on a plane back to Nashville from Phoenix. And when I got back and landed and I pull up email, and Robin and I are getting off the plane, and I pull up email, I've got like 50 responses back.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, there went my weekend.
Yeah. Well, I do remember, but you did send one small version out, because I remember sitting next to you, and you're like, because I was going to go up to speak next, and you're like, hey, I'm not going to be able to sit through your session. And I said, why? And he turned your laptop, because it was sitting, and it was like all these responses. And you're like, I'm going to go back to the room and like start calling some people. There's like a shit ton of opportunity here. So that was our first experience with the 9-word email. We had no idea it was going to work that good. I mean, it just like, bam, all of a sudden. So that's the purpose of it, is to revive a few opportunities that you thought were lost. And it doesn't matter, even if they were a year ago, doesn't matter, right? And so the email should come from the person they engaged with last. And obviously, whatever it was they talked about. Now, Jeff happened to have all the people who applied for Producers Club, because one of the things I'll teach you guys is you need to have a good CRM. Now, yes, we sell it, so we have a horse in the race. You ought to use our map program. Yeah, because I make money. But even if you don't, you need a good CRM, because the reason Jeff was able to quickly pull up a list of, hey, over the last 2 years, let's pull up every single person who ever showed interest in Producers Club or applied. He could pull that up and send an email out in a couple of minutes, because we have it in our CRM, right? And if you don't have that kind of tracking on leads coming in, this is going to be harder to do. It's not impossible, but it's just going to be, you're going to have to do onesie twosie, right? So you're going to send the email from whoever they engaged with last, and obviously fill it in with whatever you talked about. So, just so you guys know, it doesn't have to be exactly 9 words. We just call it the 9-word email, because that's what Dean called it. Do you still have any interest in buying a house, or whatever it was? The example had exactly 9 words. But it's got to follow the format. And the format basically is, the subject line should be the name of the person that you're sending it to, just their first name. The other thing is, are you still looking for a new IT firm? Are you still looking to upgrade your phone system? So I'm just using some examples. It doesn't have to be exactly 9 words, but it should follow that. So the subject line is the name of the person. There's no greeting. It's a single question and your name. And don't muck with it. Okay. I'm telling you guys, it works. All right. And so, by the way, and there's an alternative use. I don't want to get you too far off this, right? But these are examples of emails you can send to a group of clients that kind of follow this exact same format to gauge interest in a new solution. So like, we had a client in one of our rapid implementation workshops, and he actually was a dental supply company that was looking to build an MSP division, because he was constantly getting asked for IT support and IT help and whatnot, right? Because I think in addition to supplies, he sold like the X-ray machines and the scanners and all that bullshit. So anyway, he'd get the questions like, hey, we need, you know, our scanner's not working or it's not integrating with our PC. Can you guys help? And so he said, you know, the reason he signed up for our program is he wanted to figure out how to add that on to his business, right? So we came up with this idea because he had thousands of dental clients, and he was like, well, how do I even go about finding out who's interested in managed services? So I said, well, why don't we take this 9-word email and just fire it out, right? And so you can see, you know, these are the 2 emails he tested. It was, would you be against the idea of outsourcing your IT support to us? Which is a little bit of my good friend, Chris Voss, you know, it's using that triggering a no. So would you be against the idea of outsourcing your IT support to us? Or would you be against a competitive bid for IT support from us? And when he sent out that email, he got a 10% of his clients came back and said yes. So this is another way, like, you know, would you be against the idea of meeting of upgrading your services to a managed service instead of break fix? You see what I mean? It's not exactly 9 words, but it's a simple, quick email that you can send out. And if you have an email broadcast service, you know, if you're thinking, let's say you're thinking about adding on a phone system or advanced cybersecurity or compliance as a service or whatever it is, right? You can use this kind of 9-word email just to gauge interest, like a depth finder. I call it like a depth finder email. You ping it out, see what pings back. All right. So this is another use for it. There's going to be 4 primary responses. You're either going to get no response because some people still are very stingy and won't respond, right? You're going to get a not interested. Yeah, I thought it over. I'm not interested. And that's fine because, you know, I wouldn't take them off your list entirely. It just means that, you know, they've thought it over and they're not interested. The third is you're going to get, I'm interested, but I need more information, or I have a couple questions, or you might get, I'm still interested, but not right now, right? So you're going to get some kind of response like this. And so the ones, Jeff, talk a little bit, when you were getting those responses, like what were some of the responses and how you handled it?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of them were on there was saying, hey, no, I'm not ready right now, which was great because it puts them over into a different bucket that they're not interested right now.
Right.
There were a handful of them out of it that said, yes, I'm interested, you know, give me a call. And I want to move forward right now. And so it was like the hottest hot leads that says just right now I got them and they're interested. There was a lot in that gray middle, which is the tell me more about this. Like they'd forgotten about it. Send me more information about it. They were warm leads because they were interested. They weren't against the idea, but they weren't saying, hey, yes, absolutely, I'm interested right now. And I tend to see the same sort of thing happens with our members that are using it. Is that when they send it out, of where the shortness on it almost gives like the truth serum for, and it gives the permission for someone just to say, hey, no, we've moved on. Like, we're not interested in doing that now. Or a lot of them that they get are, hey, yeah, absolutely. I've been meaning to contact you. I've been buried with some other projects at the office. Can we set up a call for next week? And it just reactivates this of what you thought was dead, and not getting the whole thing about it is that when you're just sending this simple, there's no explanation around things. There's no like getting into the details and someone gets lost because they don't have time to read your email.
Yeah.
It's also that so many people, I saw this on a lot of it when we sent it, is that so many people are getting it on their phone with this. It's really easy to do on this, reading a quick email on your phone, quick response.
Right.
It's like knock it off right away, short and simple of an email that's going to them. I did see that someone was asking on this of should we use our name only or can we use our existing signature that's set up in Outlook? It's perfectly fine to have like underneath your name, put your email signature because they might not remember exactly who you are. You know, I think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Of doing that. You just don't want to don't mess with the formula of this.
Yeah.
Of that very quick, short, simple, look in what you're doing. I even remember as part of it, I think I mentioned it, is that I asked you, Robin, of just saying, hey, should we use this? Because
Mhm.
use the name. Like,
Yeah.
don't screw with that. That's part of the formula of it. It works. Even if it seems counterintuitive, it seemed counterintuitive to me when we were doing it.
Yeah, it's remember I started, you weren't on this, but I always say imitate before you innovate. Follow the recipe exactly as it is. And then the next time, if you want to tweak it and try something different, then do that. But please, guys, I mean, you're paying to be part of this group because you want my advice. Trust the advice and just do it. The world's not going to come to an end. So just, just send it out as is. Now, if you get no response to those people about 3 days later, if especially if this is a prospect that you're engaged with, right? And 3 days later, you could do another, did you get my previous email? ? And this is another, give full credit to Chris Voss. Have you given up on, looking for a new IT company, right? Or have you given up on resolving that slow Wi-Fi? Or have you given up on looking at getting compliant? All right. Now, this is if they, and then if they still don't respond, you could call. Like, again, if this is an active prospect that you just met, like, stay on them, call and email, like, don't give up easily. I mean, we did an event back in, when was Connect, Jeff? I can't remember.
June.
It was in June, right?
Yeah.
We
So
just
June,
did that
and right
event.
now this is January.
And one of my reps is still closing deals from people that he met when he was in the booth there, right? So and he follows up, little email, little phone call, stay on them, right? So, but if it's somebody who just came in as an active lead, you want to be a lot more aggressive emailing and calling, at least I'd say 3 to 4 times a week, until you get them to say, like, I'm not interested, or call me back in 3 months, or some kind of response. All right. So that's, so if they say they're not interested, again, I'm just giving you some, you can feel through this, but just, thanks for letting me know. I appreciate the response. Would you like me to follow up with you in a few weeks, or should I close this as a no-go? And by saying, should I close this as a no-go, when you invite the no, and you say, it's okay, if you don't want, if you're not interested, then just say so I don't keep bugging you. I don't need, you don't need an endless number of people to call, and they don't necessarily need a bunch of people calling them, trying to sell them something they're not interested in. So would you like me to follow up within a few weeks, or should I close this as a no-go? Another way we will word this is, would you like me to follow up in a couple of weeks, or will you simply get back to me when you're ready? And if they're interested, they'll say, hey, no, follow up with me so I don't forget. That's the truth. Now, if they say, no, I'll call you, that's a not interested, right? So invite the no. I'm interested, I need more information. Happy to help. I'll call you today. What information should I gather and prepare to answer your questions? Call them immediately. As soon as that lead comes in, like if you just got that email in, pick up the damn phone, call them, because they're at their computer, they're looking at your email, boom, right away. Try to get them while they're hot and stay on them until you reach them. If they say they're interested, if they say, I'm interested, but not right now, again, respond appropriately. I understand. I don't want to pester you. When would you like me to follow up with you again? Or would you could add on to that, or would you prefer just to call me? If they say, it's like most sales trainers, the old school ones, would cringe at that, because they would say, you tell them you're going to call on this date, but then what you're doing is you're just setting up activity that's going to lead nowhere. So I invite the note. Look, if you're not interested, that's perfectly fine. Just be honest with me. I'm happy to follow up on a date and send you more information and do whatever you need. But if you're just not interested and you're being polite, then there's no need. I mean, I'm happy to send you information if you want, and you want to call me, that's fine. Right now, what I do with those prospects, though, is I don't give up on them forever. You're going to put them in the prospect hopper system, which is like a drip marketing of, whether it's, it's a combination of social media and email and postcards and direct mail and so forth, that, just to keep that list going. Right. So that's another option, is I'm still not interested, or I'm still interested, but not right now. So you want to set that next step. All right.